Hey everyone, welcome back to the next installment in my series on how to develop iOS apps using Parse in Swift 2.0. In this video, we are going to go over our main view or our home page. We're going to set up the rest of our tabs on our tab bar view controllers. We're going to have that all set up, and we're going to set up our model for our game as well. We're going to have a game of rock, paper, scissors that the user can play right at the beginning as soon as they log in. And we're going to take care of all of that in this video. So let's go ahead and start working right on our view. So the first thing that I want to do is go into our main view here, and I actually already have some icons for our tabs down here for our buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, which I already have here. So I've got three icons here that I'm going to use. I'm going to actually post this on my GitHub account so that way you guys can have these icons as well. All of my code's on there that you guys can see. I'll post a link in below the video as well. So what we want to do is go over to our images folder here, and we're just going to drag those icons into here. So let's pull them back up. And here's my home icon. So I'm just going to take that, drag it, and drop it right into here. And you're going to see it show up under the 1X. And we're just going to want to do that with all three of the icons that I have here. So I'm going to get my next one, which is my skills icon. It's just a little monitor. And the other one is going to be a little user icon. Now, you guys can search for icons. They're all over the web. You guys can download a bunch of them. There's so many out there. These are just three that I found on the internet and downloaded and have saved from previous apps. So now that you guys have these here, make sure when you drag them in, you're dragging them to this area and not into here, because you're going to get multiple pictures all under the same name, which is not what you want. You want them all in separate sections like this, labeled as pretty close to this or whatever you guys want, but make sure they're all separate. So the next thing that we want to do is go back to our main storyboard. And what we want to do here is open up your toolbar over here, and right here on the icon, we're going to click the first icon, and we want to rename that, and we're just going to name it home. And the image, we want to select home as our image. And there you see it's labeled home with a little home here as the button. So that is set up. What we want to do is go ahead and go down to our next one. This is going to be our skills page, and we're going to change this icon as well. So let's label this skills, and the image skills as well. Now this icon is pretty big. We're going to resize it here. So we can click on the size inspector over here. So we want to bring it down a little bit. So if we click up and increase the number, it's going to decrease the size. So let's go ahead and bring up the bottom as well. And then we want to bring in the left sides a little bit and make it a little bit smaller. So I think I want to go one more and another one here. And I want to lower this a little bit too. So let's leave it at 2 and then go back up here and increase this size a little bit. Maybe this a little bit more too. There, so that looks a little bit better, like it fits pretty well. So we're going to leave it right there. Let's add in our third view controller, since we only have 2 right now. So what we want to do is find view controller and drag it onto the screen here. So let's just drag it here and drop it. We're going to minimize this for now and double click so we can zoom out and kind of position this real quick. So I just want to bring it up over here, and I am going to double click to zoom in on the tab bar controller here. And what you want to do is right click up here and drag right onto that third view controller. And the segue that we want is relationship. view controller. So click on that, and you should have a third tab or icon show up, and then it should have one here too. So there is our third tab bar view controller. So what we want to do is just bring that down here, and we're just going to line these up. And you can see the connection there lining it up, and we're just going to pull it down just a little bit. And let's drop that one, zoom in here, go down and open up your toolbar again and click on the icon, and we just want to set our third icon, and this one is going to be user, and the title is actually going to be search, because what we're going to set up in this page is going to be a map that we're actually going to drop a pin, and when the user clicks on it, it's going to show your roundabout location or as close as you guys want to home, and it's going to have a little pop-up that says hire me or something to that extent that a recruiter or HR person can click on and actually see. So now that we have that set, it's a little bit big, so I do want to decrease the size on this one as well. So let's go over to size inspector, and we'll go up a few, and left and right we'll add a few, and that's a little bit smaller, so that looks good there. So let's scroll back up. Everything looks good so far as our icons go. So the next thing that we want to do is work on our home page here. Let's go ahead and we'll just use this label here, and what I want to do is move it up to the top here, and I'm going to make it the full width here. Side to side right here, just lock it in place. We're going to make this a little bit bigger right where it locks in under our log out button here, and then let's go ahead and center the text. So we'll click alignment and center. And the other thing that we want to do is change this. So let's go ahead and type in welcome and then user and then comma. And then we'll hit enter. And now we have welcome user right now as a label. So let's make this bigger. Let's just increase the size a little bit here. And let's do 22. Looks like a good size right there. So everything's centered right now, everything looks good, and it says welcome user. So let's add in another label. So we want this to stretch all the way to the edges again. And center this as well. I want this text a little bit smaller though. Probably 14 should be good for this one. We're going to drag this one up to the bottom of the other label. And let's say on this one, play, rock, paper, scissors, below. Enter. So let's make this a little bit bigger here. I would say about 16. Let's add in one more label here and stretch this all the way across as well, and center this, and this one will say click the text field below to make your choice. Enter. And I do want to make this text a little bit smaller here, so let's go down to about 13. And also I do want to change something with rock, paper, scissors. I'd like to get rid of the commas and add in some dashes here, and so it looks like this. So now we have welcome user, play rock, paper, scissors below, and then we have click the text field below to make your choice. So the next thing that we want to do is actually add in our text field. So let's drag that onto the screen here, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger here, but not too big. So we'll just leave it there. We'll make sure it's centered, and we want to move it up just a little bit. And we want to move this down right to the edge of this about. Let's actually make the welcome a little bit bigger here too. Let's leave it at about 25. That looks better. And we have this at 16 and this at about 13. So now let's add in our picker view. And we can just drag that right onto the screen as well. And we can leave it the full length, and it should show up right under the text field. But we do want to make it a little bit smaller here. And a little bit more. Since we only have 3 choices, we won't need it to be that big. And we want to make sure we have enough room on the page for the rest of our information. So let's bring this in as far as the edge here. Just make it go to this line, match up with everything else, and right there. So it should be centered. Everything looks good here. So what we want to do is add in a view here, a little area that will be able to contain all of our little pieces here, so that way the constraints are a lot easier to manage. Because when you start adding in a lot of different things, it's a little bit harder to line them up and make sure they stay where they need to stay. So a view, this little area here is going to contain all of our information and keep it right where we want it. So we're going to make this a little bit smaller here since we don't need a big space. Drag this over to the middle. Okay, and then we still need one more label. So let's drag that on and extend the edges over here. And we're going to center this text. And we're going to say click play to see if you can win. Hit enter there. Make sure this is still lined up right under our view. And we still want to add in a couple views or a couple labels to our view. So we're going to have quite a bit in here. So I'm just going to start dragging some in. We need one for the label for the player, the app, the 2 scores, and something that says score as well. So this one will actually say score. This one can say player. This can say app. And this will be a 0. And the same for this. Let's try and make these very similar in size. So player right now has, looks like 47 and 21. So let's just go 50 and 25. And we'll want to do the same for app. So we'll go 50 and 25. And we're going to line these up here. So we're going to drag it over. This one we're going to drag up and make sure it lines up. And then we want to drag in the scores here. And I want to make these bigger as well. So let's just do 25 and 25. And drag that right to the middle. and we'll do 25 and 25 again. Let's do 50 and 50. That way it actually lines up with the player and the app label. This way it can just go right under each one and line up perfectly. The other thing that's throwing me off is these aren't centered, so let's center these. Make sure each one is centered. And then we can position them and they should be locked into place. And this one we want to change the size as well and make it centered. And we want this to be a height of 25, and 50 is good on this one as well. So let's line these up. Should see everything with blue lines and all together here, and this as well. So everything is lined up right now. So let's just see how it looks. So that looks pretty good. Our view is centered and everything looks good there. I want to underline these just to give it a little bit of style here. And there's a lot with style that we haven't done throughout this whole series, which I'll do at the end because I want to leave that up to you guys more and I want to get down to the main stuff. But we're going to add in underlining here. And the way to do that is click on text and attributed, because there is no other section that specifically says underline. So we want to double click on player and then right click on it after it's highlighted, and you should be able to go down to font and underline, and then click on the app and do the same exact thing. So text, it's going to be attributed, and double click on app and then right click on it and go to font and underline. And now those are underlined, everything looks good. And app is not centered, so let's center that. Okay, there we go. So now everything is put together here. The last thing we need to do is add in a button. So let's drag a button onto the screen here and line it up right under our last label. And let's go back to change the color scheme here. So the text color we want to be white, and the background we want to do as blue. So let's click on background and blue, and now we have our button there. The text, we need to make this a little bit smaller here, so let's go to 14. So that is lined up perfectly. And let's make sure the button is centered. Okay, so that's good as well. Everything looks good here. So the next thing that we want to do is add in our constraints. So let's click this and let's just click on all views and add missing constraints. Let's add in a couple other things here. First, let's go ahead and click on our text field and let's add in some text here. And we just want to say dash and then select and another dash, and we want the text to be centered, and the font we want to be a little bit bigger, and let's make it bold. And then let's click on our picker view, and the next thing that we want to do here is click on hidden. So by default this will not show at all, and the user won't see this until the action of clicking the text field is performed, which we're going to add in our code. So let's click on button for our last thing here, and we need to change button to play. make that capital. And then we want to scroll down, and there is another option here, which is under content. It says enabled. We want to turn this off. And then we also want to change the color of the button. That way the user can tell that it's not able to be clicked. So what we want to do is take alpha, and we want to set that to 0.5, and that should give it a dimmed look here. So let's go ahead and run this real quick just to see what it looks like. Okay, so now we have everything set up here. Let's get into adding our code and our model.